Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My apologies for the long delay in uploads. However, I haven't had any vehicles to work on, so there hasn't been anything to upload. But today we have a good one. Today we are working on my mom's 2019 Chevy Bolt EV. And the issue we're having today at 40,000 miles is the rack and pinion, or the steering gear as they call it in these cars, is going out. And the way we know this is because well, she took it to the dealership and had them figure it out to see if it was something I could fix for her. But second, it was there's a few things you can look for when you're diagnosing it. The first is that there's a weird clunk when you're trying to turn at low speeds, and then the second thing is when you're trying to, you know how when you turn and as you let go, the wheel should return to center, relatively return to center. It does not do that, and that's another way to diagnose a bad steering gear, at least in this vehicle. Now, if you're watching this video, it is probably because there's not another video on the internet that I could find for this, which is why I'm also including this video for my ICE and EV owners of this channel. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. This is the first EV on the channel, and this is my mom's vehicle, so it might be something that you'll see on here more, but let's get right into it. So what we're going to need to do today is remove both of the front wheels, unhook the U-joint from the steering column that goes to the rack and pinion underneath the dash. We're going to disconnect the tie rod ends from each wheel, and that'll give us the freedom. And then we're going to do a couple more advanced maneuvers, which is the reason why the dealership quotes $3,000 for this job. But I believe it is something I can do and you can do if you're watching this video. So first, we're going to remove the wheels. These are 19mm lugs, and from there we'll go inside and I'll show y'all where the U-joint is. So the 19mm I have seems to be a little tight. I'm going to try a 3/4 and see how that does. Otherwise I'll be here all day. Okay. Now the driver's side's loosened. I'm going to do the same thing to the passenger side. You don't need to watch that. And then we're going to raise the vehicle. Okay, I got the passenger side wheel off and the car raised. Now I'm going to do this side for y'all. In case you're wondering before why I didn't use this impact to get these off, this is a 3/8 impact, not a 1/2 inch, so it was best for me to use a breaker bar to get these loosened. So now we're going to get the wheel off and slide it under the car as extra insurance. And put your lug nuts right next to it. Okay, now with the car jacked up in the air, next we need to disconnect the steering shaft from the rack and pinion right here, which is going up into the footwell right there, as you see in the middle of your screen. You want to make sure your wheels are perfectly straight, because you're going to disconnect your steering wheel, and when this is all said and done, you want to make sure you line everything back up. So let's go inside the car And what you're looking for that we're going to be working on is that U-joint right there. We're going to need a 12 millimeter to get it off. And once this is removed, you do not want to turn your steering wheel or you could damage it. So that is going to be our next step of operations. I will do my best to record it, but it's going to be tight working spaces. Alright, something I forgot to mention before getting started, you're going to want to mark with a Sharpie or a paint pen or something along those lines, a mark on the shaft and the U-joint that lines up so that you know that it's in line for later when you put it back on. Something else that works is nail polish, which is what I do have on hand, so I'm going to put a little dab of nail polish without spilling it in my mom's car. So I'm going to do a mark right here and a mark right there. Okay, you can see, let me see here. Yeah, you can see that blue reflective paint right there. That is the mark I just made. So, okay. And then let's continue this down at the bottom. Well, actually the bottom's not going to matter. It's going to be the top one that matters because you're replacing the bottom. So just the top. Alright, now what we're going to do is take our 12 millimeter. We're going to loosen the top bolt that's here on the U-joint. Only loosen, don't remove. And fully remove the bottom bolt right here. And then it should lift up and out. And do that without turning the steering wheel. Oh, it's supposed to be a 12 millimeter. Okay, so I guess if you're watching this in not the US, it's a 12 millimeter, but if you're in the US using Imperial, it's a 7/16 that we're gonna use on here. Okay, and might just use an extension just to get this bottom one out. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to fully remove the 12 millimeter on the bottom. Okay, that bolt is fully out. This is loosened. Alright, looks like we need to loosen it a little more. Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Now it just drops out. You can see that I can move it now. Do that without. Okay. There we go. That's all we need. By the looks of it, you don't even have to take the U-joint all the way off. Look, I still have it on there, but it's resting on the floor, and behind it there's the spindle coming out from underneath the car, and I haven't moved the steering wheel at all, as you can see here. So okay, that's step one of many. On to the next. Okay, so now we're back out to the front tire. If you've made it to this point and you're still not sure your rack and pinion is bad, what you can do with the wheel on or off, doesn't matter, is try and turn the wheels back and forth. There should be very minimal resistance if this is a good steering gear. Seeing as the fact that I'm putting all my weight in this and it will not turn, my steering gear is bad. So If yours moves smoothly, it might be something else, but this is the last fire sure way to determine that your steering gear is bad. So we're going to continue on. We need to remove the tie rod end of the steering gear from the knuckle. This is an 18mm deep well socket, so we're going to knock that loose. Oh, that was easy. Okay, let's get the impact and run this off. Okay, easy as that. Now this should pop right out. Alright, we got the tie rod end out. I just use my hammer. Make sure if you hit on the bottom, you have the nut right here at the bottom so you don't mushroom out the end of it, because you're going to be reusing these unless you bought new ones. The new part does not come with the outer tie rod ends. Forewarning. Alright, we're getting into it now. Most of the stuff now is only needed to be done on the driver's side. First, we need to remove all these Torx bits from the wheel well. You can remove half and fold it back, but I don't like that. I don't like fighting with stuff the whole time, so I'm just going to remove the few extra Torx bits out of here and get this wheel well out. And then we're going to go under the car and remove the closeout panels. This is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to time lapse this for y'all. Just take your Torx bit, I believe it's a T15, remove all these and get your wheel well out however you choose to do so. Alright, I've finished removing all the Torx screws. There's 10 Torx bits and 1 panel clip, so get your flathead or whatever and get that out. Now, if you're doing the fold method at this point, this is all you need to do. If you want to take it out completely, there's a couple of fasteners underneath here to get it completely out, and that's where we'll go underneath the car and work on getting the closeout panel removed. Alright, here we are at the front of the car facing the driver's side wheel. That's the back of the car. We're going to remove a bunch of these 7mm fasteners to remove this belly pan. From my counting, there's 19 or 20 of them, so just go around the perimeter of this belly pan and remove all the 7mm you see. And at that point, the belly pan should drop out. This is going to be difficult for me to record, but it's pretty straightforward for y'all. Alright, here I have the belly pan out from under the car. Over here is the back of the car. Over here is the front. All around the perimeter, you can see the holes. Those are where 7mm bolts were. I didn't realize it at the time. This one and this one are 10s. And there's 5 10s at the back with 2 clips that you can just pull out, as far as I can tell. So that's that. Okay, so at this point, if you haven't already done so, and I forgot to mention up until here, we're going to disconnect the 12-volt negative terminal, because we're going to be disconnecting some grounds and some electrical outlets to be able to get to the rack and pinion. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. Excuse the neighbors, and then we'll move on to the next step. And the 12-volt is located under the hood. Alright everyone, so we're under the car now. We are near the back of the subframe. Right here's the battery, and what we're looking for is this module here. This module, I believe, controls the heater for the motor. Sorry, this module here, I believe, controls the heater for the motor, and we need to get it detached from the subframe that we're going to slightly lower in a little bit. Now, as we come under here, first we need to remove these 2 grounds that are right up here. Those are 10 mils, and then there's 4 10 mils holding this on. There are 2 that are facing downwards here. 1, 2 back here, and then there's 2 facing forward on the same bracket. 1 And where's number 2? 2 is right here. So just get your 10 mil and extensions and ratchet or drill, and we're gonna get this out of the way before we get to the next part. Alright, I got this module off. In retrospect, I don't think you need to remove these bolts because the bracket still comes with it. You just need to remove the bolts that are facing forward from that black bracket to get it removed. And all we need is for it to sit here and dangle. That's all we need for it to do. Alright, and the last thing we need to do, now that all those bolts are connected, is we need to remove this wire here. Just use a flathead or I can't think of the word right now. Just use something to pry this off and remove it from the subframe. And then next, before the next big step, make sure there's nothing attached to this front or this rear subframe module that when you lower it about 3 inches is going to be in the way and catch anything and damage it. We do not want that. So as you can see, this is loose now, and we're going to loosen this wire, and I believe I'm good at this point, and hopefully you are too. Okay, I'm back under the front of the car now. I was doing some assessments and I realized back when we were removing the wheel wells, we should have partially removed the passenger wheel well because we need to access this 21 millimeter, same as on the driver's side over here. That is our next step now. We're going to be loosening the 21 millimeters here at the front of the vehicle. Just a few turns. We're not taking them completely out. We're not removing them. We're not taking them out halfway. Just a few turns, because what we're going to be doing is loosening it up to give us the room we need to lower, but also that's what we're hinging the subframe off of, is these bolts. So do not take them out all the way, just a few turns, and then we'll drop them down. So far I've loosened that about 3/4. I'm going to keep track of how much I loosen these. 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/2. All right. There's 3. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I have both loosened. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to put a jack down at the back of the subframe before we loosen and remove the 2 remaining 15 and 21 millimeters at the back of the subframe, and then the jack is going to support our subframe. Alright, here we are at the rear of the subframe. You can see I have a jack supporting the rear of the subframe right there. There's 3 bolts. 1, 2, and then 1 on the other side of the jack. I place it right in the middle of it and it fits perfectly. Now, what we're going to be doing is loosening the 2 rear 21 millimeter bolts till they're almost all the way off. They'll be on about 3 threads, enough to support the weight of the subframe should the jack fail or anything like that. And we will be completely removing two 15mm bolts. Let me get you up under there. They are they're right here at the back of that Y bracket. I said two, I think I meant one, but there's one or two back at the back. You're going to remove those completely and mostly loosen these. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright guys, so now we're getting to the juicy bits. The whole point we're watching this video, you're watching this video, we're going to remove or loosen the bolts that go through the subframe and attach to the steering gear. It is an 18mm, so hopefully my 3/8 ratchet should be able to handle it, but if not, I have a 1/2 inch breaker bar that can handle it. That's a nope. Alright, 1/2 inch it is. Okay, so it appears there's a nut at the top of this bolt and it's twisting with it, so I think this is the point where we're going to drop the subframe. It should be resting, it should theoretically rest on the 21mm bolts that are here, but don't lower your jack all the way either, and make sure your control module here is out of the way. So that'll be the only way you can get up in there and get a wrench on it. So here we go. That didn't move. Why not? Why didn't you move? Oh, motor mount. Are you attached to the fucking motor mount? Yeah, I think we need to undo that 15. Okay. What the fuck? What am I missing? Oh. Alright guys, y'all saw my little conundrum there. I was trying to figure out why it was dropping, but it turns out there's some 21mm bolts right here that need to get completely wrung out, and then it should drop. And there's some of those, there's one of those on each side right behind the right above the control arm, lower control arm. So I'm going to run those out real quick, and then we should be able to lower it. Alright, I got those last two 21mm out, and now we can lower this. We're going to do it very slowly, and hopefully y'all can see it. There it goes. Alright, it's now resting on the two 21mm in the back, and it's just barely resting on the jack. That's where we want to be now. Now I think we can get up in the wheel well with a 18 mil. Sorry guys, I'm tired. It's hot, and getting up and down to both sides of the vehicle is tiring when you're by yourself. I think we can get up in the wheel well now with a 18 mil wrench and hold those nuts to get the bolts off. Alright guys, I'm going to show y'all the 18 mil for the steering gear. If y'all hear a lawnmower, please forgive me. I can't wait all day to wait for them to finish, so hope it's not too bothersome. I'll do my best. I'll fast forward through this so y'all don't have to hear that. It's a Monday of all things. People are mowing their lawn on a Monday. Okay, from all intents and purposes, the steering gear is free, which you can see that. We need to try and get it out from the floor now, and that's where the room we made comes in. So we're gonna try and get it out. We may have to remove a couple more things, but I'll do my best here. Alright, well I got a second while it's quiet-ish. It appears there's still not quite enough room, so what we're gonna need to do, it appears, is remove the lower sway bar end link from both sides and come underneath and remove the two fasteners holding the sway bar, so we can move the sway bar around to be able to get the steering gear out, So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do now. And this is a 18 millimeter. I really didn't want to have to do that. Alright, so to get the sway bar end link off, you need to get a number 6 hex key or Allen and put it on the center, and then you can take your 18 to hold to then be able to take the nut off. If you have a ratcheting wrench, this makes it way easier. I have some, but I don't have any in an 18 that's kind of big, so. Alright, we have the sway bar end link off. Let's get the others off. Alright, I'm working on the two 18s here now that come up and hold the back of the A-arm and the sway bar end link so that we can move it around. I've already used the breaker bar. I thought I was recording, but again, I'm sorry for the lawnmower. That one's up. Don't lose the nuts. Always put your nuts back on. Alright guys, so I got those bolts out on both sides, and moving the sway bar out of the way definitely gave me some room. And it's so close. There's like half an inch of spindle inside. So I think let's drop this cradle a little more and then we can get it out the rest of the way. Okay guys, we got it. So what I did, as you can see, is I slowly lowered the subframe until, and removing the bolts, so we have about 3 inches of drop. And now we can get it out. Hopefully. Come on, we're so close. Stuck on the other side. Yeah, the tie rod was facing down on that side, so I think we can get it out now. What am I missing? What am I missing? Oh. Alright guys, so we're not quite there. It appears we need to take off the 3 motor mount bolts where the jack is and raise the motor up just a little. That passage is just a hair too narrow for it to go through in the middle, so that's what we got to do. Oh, if it's not one thing, it's another. Alright guys. Alright everyone, now that the mowing has stopped, at least I hope, I'm going to give you a little update. So it appears I lowered the subframe a little too early. We can't get the steering rack out because back there is the motor mount, which is catching the steering gear. So what we need to do, and what I already did, is I got a 2-foot extension and ran back that 15 millimeter, super easy, and I just left it there so it's easy to screw in later. And now I have a jack underneath the motor mount with a block of wood, and the subframe is where we need it. We're gonna raise the motor mount up just a little bit, the motor and motor mount up just a little bit to get the clearance we need. So I'm going to put this here, and I hope that everything works out for the best. So you all can watch it come out of the driver's side. Alright guys, good news. I believe I'm there. So for the last 10 minutes, I've been slowly going back and forth between the yellow or orange jack and the gray jack. The orange slowly lowers the subframe and the gray is slowly raising the motor mount. And what we needed to do was get the spindle through this gap while simultaneously getting it through the motor mount in the back there, which just got in focus. So I got it over that, so now I think we're in the home stretch. So let's sit this down here, make sure y'all don't fall over again. Here we go. Alright. Alright. Woo! And it is out. Oh, there we go. And by the looks of it, it appears the fluid leaked out somewhere, which is why it caused it to fail. So there's the steering gear. Alright, so we have our old and our new part. First thing you want to do is make sure everything matches up, and it appears they do. My new one was turned a little bit that way so that the tie rod ends didn't line up. So just take some pliers or something, be careful, and just turn the spindle. This spindle was incredibly easier to turn than this one was, so that definitely is going to make a big difference. Now what we need to do is transfer these tie rods over to here, and we need to line these threads up, count the number of threads here, and roughly count the number of threads there, and count them here, count them there, and they'll roughly be on point, but we should definitely still get an alignment after. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get it back in the car. Alright guys, I'm back for the last time trying to get this in. I think I figured it out. So getting it out, you know, you can kind of yank stuff out and you don't care how it ends up, but this is a new part, you don't want to tear it up putting it back in. Well, I was having issues with the mounting down that side. When you need to twist it to get this up, it was in the way of the motor mount. So I went ahead and removed the 3 15mm bolts that come in from the bottom, and now it's loose or maneuverable, so that should knock it out of the way and push this right through. So let's give it a go for the 16th time. I hope. Ow. Well, don't do that. That hurts. Oh, I need you to pick up. That's what I need you to do. There we go. So I just used a flathead to kind of move it out of the way. And that's giving me, yep, that's all I needed. That's all the clearance I needed. Wow. Okay, ladies and gents, we have it in. It is in. It is in. Now, We just need to get it in its final position up top. But it is in. Now's the fun part, doing everything in reverse. I will probably just time lapse this because the getting it in and the getting it out is what people want to see. That's what y'all came here to see. We've done that. So now I'm just gonna time lapse it going back in. It's literally just the verse. If you need a walkthrough, gonna reattach the motor mount. We're going to lower the motor, reattach that last motor mount bolt, reattach all the sway bar stuff, bring up the subframe, and from there it just goes back together. And one of the last things probably to do is screw in the steering gear. Sorry, it's been a long day, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's getting dark though, so this might be broken up till tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Alright guys, back from the time lapse. What I was doing right there, I was getting a one bolt in through the steering gear to get it setting up and down in its home so that we can raise the subframe, because if you try and raise the subframe without doing that, it'll catch. So that's what I was doing. Now we'll try and get everything back up into position here. Alright guys, I got the motor mount back in place. Now I can remove the gray floor jack here and slowly work on getting the subframe back in its home. Alright, so what I'm doing right now, so I just finished getting the sway bar and lower control arm bolts back through. I'm going back through and tightening up the motor mount bolts just to make sure, and then at this point I think we can raise up the subframe. I don't know the torques of these guys, so don't be spamming me asking me, but nothing was on there too bad if you had the correct tools. So just snug everything up just like that. All right, now I think we can raise the subframe. Everything is in its correct spot. Oh, let me clarify. I'm gonna raise it up to get the front 21 millimeters in, and then we'll get the sway bar end links back in, and then we'll tighten up the sway bar, and then we'll finish zipping up the subframe. Alright everyone, now that you and I have the motor mount bolts secure and the sway bar A-arm mount bolt secure, we should be able to raise the subframe now, rest the way up. And we'll mount the 21 millimeters and get this sway bar end link right here, right there, back in place. So here we go. Alright guys, don't be like me. Don't forget a step. The step I forgot, we need to tighten up the steering rack bolts. Kind of important, that's the whole reason we did this job. So let's go ahead and tighten those back up. Alright everyone, now that we've done the back two, back four 21 millimeters, don't forget to retighten the two up front that we loosened up at the start of this here. Alright everyone, now that we're done with the 21 millimeters, we just need to rehook the sway bar end links here and the control module that we loosened underneath earlier. But for me, it seems like my sway bar end link is in a slightly different position. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jack up my wheel here from underneath to raise it to get my end link where I need it to get it to go in, and then it should fix itself. So that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, it appears by doing that it put the sway bar back where it should go. So the other side, we shouldn't have to jack up the wheel, but let's go check it out. Alright, so it appears that the sway bar changed angle when we were moving it around to get the rack and pinion out. But now it's in its correct spot by doing that. So you should only have to do that on one wheel if your sway bar ends up moving. So now we can just do this tie rod in, no problem. Just like that. And then we'll get under the car and button up that module. Alright everyone, I got the module put back on in the rear of the subframe. Remember, it was those two 10mm, and don't forget the two grounds that we disconnected as well. And there's also that 15mm that we took out that you need to put back on. That's the best time to do that. Now, the next thing we could do is put the panel back on the bottom, but that's a lot of fasteners, and I think the best thing to do would be make sure everything works. In order to do that, when you put the tie rods back in on both sides and the U-joint from the steering wheel, we can make sure everything works. And ideally, this should just drop right in and the wheel should look relatively straight still, if everything works out right. Wow, that moves way easier than the last one. Look at that. Awesome. That's exciting. Run the 18 on and tighten it up, because this is very important. If these come off, you're going to crash. So we want to make sure that these are nice and tight, which looks like we are. So let's straighten that back out. Now let's go to the other side and put the other one on. Remember in the beginning of the video, we couldn't move our wheel. This is what it should look like. That is the steering gear that works. Okay, so we have our wheels pretty straight. Let's go inside the car and get the U-joint reconnected. And if I remember correctly, that was a 12mm or a 7/16. Remember, do not turn your steering wheel. Alright, now we're going to reinstall this pinch bolt. And tighten this upper pinch bolt. Alright, let's get the 12 volt reconnected and turn the car on and see how it goes. Alright everyone, well, I got everything put back together except the undercarriage, and it appears to be working great. I hope yours is too. I hope y'all found the video helpful, at least somewhat of a visual representation of what to do to help you out with this. If you like the video, please let me know. Please let me know what you might have done differently, or if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Please like and share for your Bolt friends if they need any help with this repair in the future. Well, I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. This is Coffee with Trucks, Cars, and Coffee. Take care.